Dear students and viewers, greetings. I'm Professor Archana Kaushik from the Department of Social Work, University of Delhi, Delhi. I welcome you all to this module on family life cycle. This topic will be covered in 2 sessions and this is first part of the unit. In this unit, we are going to learn about the concept and different stages of family life cycle, the relevance and applicability of family life cycle framework, the roles and responsibilities of family members in each of these stages, the challenges encountered by family in these stages, and the role of social work professionals. In this particular session, we will be focusing on first 2 stages of family life cycle. Let us enlist the learning outcomes of this session. By the end of this session, you will be able to define the family life cycle, understand its core stages, mainly the first 2, discuss its relevance in social work practice, examine the different needs and resources associated with each stage of family life cycle, and locate the societal expectations, anticipated challenges in these stages, and finally, describe the social work response to address these challenges. Now, let us start with the definition of family life cycle. It is the framework that describes the predictable stages through which a family typically progresses over time. It includes both developmental tasks and traditional challenges, from the formation of family to its eventual dissolution. Further, a family life cycle may also be defined as the social, emotional, and intellectual stages one passes through from childhood to retirement years as a member of the family. It is interesting to note that the human life cycle and the family life cycle often progress in parallel, as key stages of individual development like adolescence, marriage, parenting, and aging typically align with the traditions of family roles and responsibilities. Different theories have proposed different stages of family life cycle. Some have outlined 4 stages, that is independence stage, coupling stage, expansion stage, and contraction stage. Others have bifurcated or trifurcated the latter 2 stages, that is expansion and contraction, further. For instance, Elvin Dovall proposed 8 stages based on the age of the eldest child. Betty Carter and Monica McGoldrick introduced a 7-stage model grounded in family systems theory. And these 7 stages are: first, independence stage; second, coupling stage, that includes marriage; third, parenting with young children; fourth, families with adolescents; fifth, launching adult children; sixth, the empty nest; and seventh, the aging family members. Here you may see that the third, fourth, and fifth stages are covered in the expansion stage of the traditional 4-stage family life cycle approach, and sixth and seventh stages are covered in contraction stage. Thus, regardless of the number of stages, all the proposed models of family life cycle aim to understand the evolving structure, roles, and functions of families across time and transitions. Each stage presents its own roles, responsibilities, and emotional challenges, shaping how individuals and families grow and adapt. We will be discussing the family life cycle in 4 stages, though covering all the necessary contents and dimensions covered in 5, 7, or 8 stages. The 4-stage model is often used in applied fields like nursing, psychology, and social work. Though its origin may not be attributed to a single theorist, the family life cycle concept was popularized by Elvin Dovall in the 1950s. Later, Betty Carter and Monica McGoldrick expanded it to include multi-generational perspectives and emphasized family systems rethinking. Along with these, scholars like Reuben Hill and Roy Rogers also laid the groundwork for integrating psychological development with family dynamics. Thus, family life cycle is a conceptual tool for understanding how families change over time. It is rooted in the family developmental perspective of the 1950s. Just as individuals have different stages in their lives, families can also have different stages. In this case, cycle refers to the continuity of family life because most families beget other families. After leaving their families of origin, adult children often create their own families. It depicts the intergenerational cyclic nature. Let us examine the relevance of family life cycle in social work education and practice. As an assessment tool, family life cycle framework helps social workers understand the stage-specific challenges and tasks families face. In intervention planning, it enables development of targeted interventions. Also, in strengths-based approach, it recognizes normal family stress and growth patterns. Further, during crisis management, it helps in identifying disruptions in transitions such as divorce, death, employment, etc. As social work professionals, you would be able to assess the needs and resources of families at various stages of family life cycle, and in the case of families facing resource deficits or problems in mastering the skills to reach milestones of each stage, you may provide necessary interventions. Roles of social workers also entail creating awareness about the challenges and requirements of each stage among families so that they are better able to prepare the families with anticipated challenges, and there would be least maladjustment among various systems of the family and between family and social environment. Family life cycle suggests that successful transitioning may also help to prevent disease and emotional or stress related disorders. Understanding of the family life would also help in planning and implementing family life enrichment programs for the well-being of families in particular and society in general. However, the family life cycle model has certain limitations too. It assumes a linear progression and nuclear family structure which does not fit many Indian families having joint and extended family structures. It also underrepresents non-traditional families such as single-parent homes, childless couples, reconstituted families, or those formed through adoption or remarriage. So, the family life cycle approach is more applicable to middle class urban nuclear families. The families living below poverty line, alternate family patterns like women headed families, dual income no kid families also may not pass through all the prescribed stages of family life cycle. The joint family patterns also have different functioning and coping abilities to account for their composition, lifestyles, and functional dynamics. It may be noted that the social workers must be careful not to pathologize families just because they deviate from this model. Added to this, it may not be necessary that all the families, more so all nuclear families, pass through all these stages of family life cycle in the same sequence. There may be contingent conditions that disrupt the smooth sailing of these stages of family life cycle, such as accident, disability, calamity, or any other life-changing crisis. An attempt is made to contextualize family life cycle approach in Indian socio-cultural milieu, covering the challenges social workers encounter while working with families in various stages of family life. Let us delve deeper into each stage of family life cycle and explore the key developmental tasks and potential challenges associated with each stage. First one is independence stage. It is basically the preparation stage to enter the family life cycle. It is one of the most crucial stages as later adjustments and successful completion of expected roles depend on this stage. The independence stage typically begins in the late adolescence or early adulthood. This independence stage, also known as the launch pad into adulthood, a foundation for adult functioning. It marks the individual's emotional, social, and financial separation from the family of origin, though quite gradually. It is that phase when individuals emotionally and cognitively step away from their family of origin to build their own identity, make choices, and essentially begin shaping the trajectory of their adult life. It is about learning who you are, where you stand for, and how you want to live your life. However, this process of transition is quite dynamic, maybe stressful and challenging. The independence stage involves deep, often silent shifts in mindset, in confidence, and in emotional maturity. This is when young adults begin to develop unique qualities and characteristics that define their individual identity, and they strive to make independent decisions. The key developmental tasks during this stage may be divided into 5, and they are establishing a personal identity, developing emotional and financial independence, pursuing education and securing employment, forming intimate relationships, and making long term life choices. This stage sets the tone for everything that comes next: careers, relationship, even parenting. It lays the groundwork for future roles and relationships in the family and society. The discussion would be incomplete without looking at the gender angle, which is often overlooked. In many societies, especially in countries like India, gender heavily influences how independence is experienced. The root cause is mainly mental conditioning. Boys and girls often raised with starkly different expectations. A young man is often told, "You must stand on your own feet, be the provider." That creates pressure, financial, emotional, and social. On the other hand, young women may hear, "You will move from your father's house to your husband's." Independence for many women is not about standing alone, but transitioning from one dependent relationship to another. And that's where mental conditioning plays a massive role. Even before someone turns 18, these internalized beliefs, what is expected, what is allowed, begin shaping their identity. For boys, independence might mean proving their masculinity through work and earning. For girls, independence might be tangled with negotiating autonomy while still being acceptable in the traditional frameworks. And here the role of social workers becomes quite crucial, because without guidance and awareness, these young adults may carry unspoken fears, internal conflicts, and insecurities. Now, let us talk about the emotional independence among emerging adults. It is not just about crying in front of others or not asking your parents for advice. It is about developing resilience, knowing how to deal with failure, setting boundaries, understanding intimacy without losing your sense of self. And this begins to take us to Erickson's theory of psychosocial development, specifically his sixth stage, intimacy versus isolation. This stage aligns perfectly with the independence stage. Individuals try to form close, meaningful relationships. Intimacy is a vital skill to develop during independent young adult years. Intimacy is the ability to develop and maintain close relationships that can endure hard times and other challenges. In an intimate relationship, one earns about commitment, compatibility, attachment, and sharing emotions and feelings. Those individuals who fail to develop capability to intimacy and love may remain in isolation and alienation. They may require professional help. Without a strong and clear sense of self, intimacy becomes difficult. And sadly, many young adults do not acquire skills of healthy, intimate relationship building. Some fear rejection, others expect perfection. Many enter relationships with an unrealistic, romanticized image of what a life partner should be, and then reality does not match with fantasy, conflict, violence, and sometimes isolation, loneliness follows. Social workers can help here through premarital counseling, teaching young people to replace patriarchal and idealistic expectations with a more democratic, understanding view of partnership. Real intimacy is not about losing oneself in another. It is about two independent people sharing, caring for each other while maintaining their own individuality. Now, with regard to time, energy, and money resources at this stage, many young adults have time and energy on their side. And while salaries at this stage may be low, so are expenses. It is a great time for self investment, education, upskilling, and honing life skills. Let us enlist the major challenges one may encounter in the independent stage: economic instability and job insecurity, health issues including substance abuse, anemia, and malnutrition, mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, stress, social pressures like family expectations and demands, delayed autonomy, gender based fixated roles and restrictions, and digital distractions and social media comparisons. This apart, sexuality related issues form a prominent aspect of this stage. In cultures where sex is a taboo topic, like India, young adults often enter relationships or even marriage with little understanding of sexual health. Unsafe sexual behavior, lack of proper sex education, and the stigma around the discussing of sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV/AIDS, create a long-term health and relationship issues. In fact, many young men may have premarital sexual experiences, often uninformed, risky, and hidden, and unintentionally transmit infection to their spouses. Silence around sex leads to ignorance, and ignorance leads to harm. Further, many Indian youth continue living with their parents well into their late 20s and 30s. While this can provide safety and financial support, it can also delay emotional separation. Family dynamics like arranged marriage, religious duties, and rigid gender roles can create a tug of war between personal desires and family expectations. In this backdrop, social workers can perform different roles, such as counselor, by helping the youth explore identity and personal values, educator, by teaching life skills, communication, money management, health literacy, and such others, mediator, by bridging communication gaps between parents and young adults, mental health advocates, thereby spotting signs of depression, anxiety, and support mental wellness, and policy advocate by lobbying for youth employment, affordable housing, and sex education programs. Social workers should focus on empowering youth to thrive within their own cultural and personal values rather than the indiscriminate following of Western ideals and values. And a fine balance is required, especially when one is advocating independence in a society that values interdependence. Now, let us summarize the key tasks and responsibilities of young adults in this independence stage and the role of social worker in each. First is healthy lifestyle habits, encouraging nutritious food, avoiding substance abuse. The social worker may educate on anemia, especially among females, dangers of tobacco and alcohol, and run de-addiction programs. Then career development, securing employment, becoming financially self-reliant is the second one. Social workers may offer skill training, guide through job systems, provide workplace conflict mediation. Next one is relationship readiness, understanding emotional maturity, commitment, and mutual respect. And the role of social workers include to conduct pre-marital counseling, teach democratic roles in partnerships versus patriarchal norms. Sexual health education is a crucial one. Acquiring accurate information about sexually transmitted diseases like HIV and intimacy is important for young adults. Social workers are expected to break the culture of silence, promote open discussion about sex and safety. This is the phase where self-identity is at stake. Every struggle, every decision, every failure and success, they all become part of a person's internal script. If we fail to guide youth during this time, we risk building future families on shaky foundations. So, the independence stage is not just about living alone or person leaving home. It is about them learning to live with themselves, to make conscious choices, to love wisely, and to lead a life that reflects their truest self. After independence stage, the next stage of family life cycle is coupling, also called the initiation stage. This is the time where in life when two people shaped by different upbringings, values and dreams come together in a committed relationship, most commonly through marriage. The couples explore their ability to commit to a new family and a new way of life. Being in a committed relationship with someone in the situation of marriage does involve a process of adaptation and relationship building. This stage of marital life often requires unique skill sets. However, beginning with wedding, this stage entails much more than celebrations and ceremonies. It is about learning the art of partnership, about negotiation, compromise, adaptation, and growth. Most people, when think of marriage, often imagine love, romance, emotional support, companionship, even shared goals. But what they do not always see are the invisible tasks that make or break this union. Let us begin with the developmental milestone of this stage. Partner selection, love or arranged marriage, caste and class barriers, family support or resistance, their impact on the early phases of marriage, establishing a shared identity as a couple, negotiating roles, responsibilities, and expectations, developing communication and conflict resolution skills, setting boundaries with extended families, planning for the future, finances, children, and career. Though it may appear manageable, but when layered with gendered expectations, family structures, and cultural values, things can become complicated. That is especially true in countries like India, where marriage is not just between two people, it is between two families. Before two people can even begin navigating the realities of married life, there is one critical step that often defines the rest of their journey: partner selection. In many parts of the world, and especially in South Asia, the choice of a partner is not entirely personal. It is shaped by family, caste, class, religion, and yes, sometimes even astrology. When we talk about arranged marriages, they may offer strong family support, but sometimes at the cost of individual choice. On the other hand, love marriages often stem from emotional connection, can be burdened with lack of acceptance, especially when they cross traditional boundaries. Marrying outside one's caste or economic class can invite social backlash, emotional strain, and even economic cutoffs. Family resistance may come in the form of emotional withdrawal or overt conflict with in laws. And all of this adds to the stress of already delicate stage. Even when couples are deeply in love, external disapproval can affect mental health, create loyalty conflicts, and isolate the couple when they need support of each other the most. Social workers must recognize that the source of marital trouble is not always within the relationship. Sometimes it is rooted in systemic biases, social stigma, or erosion of family networks due to disapproval. Supporting such couples means more than offering communication tips. It means offering a safe space to process rejection, strategies to build resilience, and sometimes advocating for their legitimacy in developing traditional environment. Because no marriage begins in vacuum, it begins in a social context, and whether that context supports or strains the union, it shapes the quality of connection and well-being the couple can achieve. Often, a bride enters her husband's family home, what we can call a patrilocal setup. Alternatively, the couple can set up a separate home of their own, a neolocal family. Let us take a closer look at these two settings because they deeply shape the gender roles, power dynamics, and challenges. Let us start with patrilocal family, where the newly married woman moves into her husband's home. Here she is expected not only to adapt to a new partner, but to an entire household, new customs, rituals, even a new value system. Her developmental tasks multiply. She must build relationships within in laws, understand unwritten expectations, and negotiate her identity within the hierarchical family structure. And then there is the emotional side, which is often overlooked. The husband's parents, particularly the mother in law, may experience a sense of loss or competition. Suddenly, their son's affection is shared. Feelings of insecurity may surface, often expressed through fault finding behavior directly at the daughter in law. This can create a hostile environment for the bride, leading to a role confusion, suppressed individuality, and even psychological distress. This dynamic is deeply gendered. While the husband is rarely expected to change much, the wife is often tasked with transformation, abandoning her own lifestyle, preferences, and sometimes even career dreams to fit in. In many traditional setups, she is still socialized to uphold the Sita Savitri ideal, the silent sacrificial women. The burden of adjustment lies disproportionately on her shoulders. But not all couples live in patrilocal households. Some choose or are able to live in a new local arrangements, setting up a new home together. Here, there is more privacy, freedom, and role for partnership. The couple can set their own norms, co create values, and negotiate roles more equally, at least in theory. Even new local families face challenges, especially if both partners are employed. Dual earning couples often struggle with time constraints, long working hours mean less time for communication, shared responsibilities, or emotional connection. And here too, gender bias creeps in. Many husbands still expect their wives to manage home duties even after a full day's work. Consequently, there is a role strain for women, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. Let us zoom out for a second and look at some of the major challenges couples face during this stage. Role ambiguity and power struggles, clashes in values, lifestyles, and expectations, pressure from in laws and cultural obligations, lack of sexual compatibility or awareness, financial stress, especially in lower income households, adjustment fatigue when the emotional cost of merging lives becomes too high. For healthy relationship between couples at this stage is to aim at interdependence between the couples and not dependence, not independence, but interdependence. That is when both partners maintain their individuality while also share dreams, responsibilities, and emotional support. It is when the space and connection coexist. Social workers should not focus only on problem solving but on building capacity of the couples for shared interdependent living. For this, social workers may play preventive role in terms of counseling to set realistic expectations, education on sexual health, compatibility and communication, workshops on gender equality and shared roles within households. Social workers' curative role include family therapy to address unresolved conflicts, crisis intervention when mental health abuse or external stressors threaten stability, conflict mediation, and between partners and in laws. Further, group sessions for newlyweds, career and financial planning, workshop, emotional wellness programs focusing on stress management and empathy form some of the interventions at the promotive level. Social workers also assess family systems using three key lenses: socialization of family norms, are expectations fair, are roles gender skewed, family ecology, what is the impact of work, housing, income, and culture, family dynamics, who holds power, is there emotional reciprocity or silent suffering. Further, sexuality forms the cornerstone of married life, a topic often clothed in silence, especially in certain cultures. Lack of sexual compatibility, misinformation about STIs, and unspoken dissatisfaction can corrode intimacy. Social workers must create safe spaces to discuss these issues free from judgment, stigma, or taboo. Another vital area that can become contentious is finances. In households where economic strains, money issues are not just stressful, they are relationship defining. Arguments about spending, unmet expectations, and jobs insecurity can erode trust. Social workers must equip couples with financial literacy and help them co create budgeting strategies that reflect their priorities and responsibilities. And then there is lifestyle. Each partner comes with a personal habits, sleep routines, eating patterns, beliefs. If not discussed openly, these small things can accumulate into conflicts. Negotiating a shared lifestyle while preserving individuality requires active listening and flexibility skills that can be taught. The energy and time resource at this stage are plenty, especially in the early years of marriage. If used wisely, this is the time for bonding, building, and dreaming together. It is an ideal window to establish healthy communication patterns that will serve them as well as parents and partners for decades to come. Thus, it is about learning how to live together not just under one roof, but with mutual respect, shared responsibilities, and emotional maturity. Marriage is not just a union of bodies and names. It is the merging of worlds, the constant negotiation between me and we. The coupling stage, then, is not just a milestone. It is a training ground for lifelong partnership. So, love may start with emotion, but it survives through effort, understanding, and shared growth. Now, to sum up, family life cycle is a process divided into various identifiable stages through which an individual passes as the member of a family, and each stage calls for acquisition of certain skills and expertise, giving confidence and satisfaction if one is successful, and despair and self doubt if unable to do so. The first stage is independence, which is preparation to enter into the family life. Individuals have to acquire skills in developing intimacy, mutually satisfying relationships, emotional maturity, along with suitable career development. Individuals have to strike a balance between their personal goals and societal roles expected out of them as marriage partners. Roles of social worker as facilitator, educator, pre-marriage counselor, mediator, etc. are also discussed. In the second, coupling stage, individuals are expected to perform their roles as husband and wife, as in-laws effectively so as to enhance amicable and cordial relations. Impact of conforming to societal norms in the context of patriarchal social structure and family dynamics with arrival of new bahu are conferred. Preventive, promotive, and curative roles of social workers are looked into. In the next video, we are going to discuss about the rest of the two stages of family life cycle. Thank you.